Recording in progress.
$11 o'clock. Honorable members, good morning.
Good morning, Chairperson.
Morning, Chair.
Morning, Chair.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chairperson.
Morning, Chair.
Thank you.
Morning, Chair.
Now start, honorable members. I welcome all members who have logged in to the visual mini plenary session. There will now be an opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. Thank you, honorable members. Honorable members, before we proceed, I would like to remind you that the visual mini plenary is deemed to be in the precinct of Parliament and constitute a meeting of the National Assembly for debating purposes only. In addition to the rules of visual sittings, the rules of the National Assembly, including the rules of the debate, apply. Members enjoy the same powers and privileges that apply in a sitting of the National Assembly. Members should equally note that anything said in the visual platform is deemed to have been said to the House and may be ruled upon. All members who have logged in shall be considered to be present and are requested to mute their microphones and only unmute when recognized to speak. This is because the mics are very sensitive and will pick up noise which might disturb the attention of other members. When recognized to speak, please unmute your microphone and connect your video. Members may make use of the icons on the bar at the bottom of the screens, which has an option that allows a member to put up his or her hand to raise points of order. The Secretariat will assist in alerting the chairperson members requesting to speak. When using the visual system, members are urged to refrain or desist from unnecessary points of order or interjections. We shall now proceed to the order, which is debate on vote number 8, National Treasury, State Security, Appropriation Bill. I now recognize the Honorable, the Deputy Minister of State Security. Honorable Godwa.
Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, Chairperson and members of the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence, Minister of State Security, Ms. Ayanda Dlodlo, on whose behalf I have a singular honor to present this budget speech. We wish Ms. Ayanda Dlodlo a speedy recovery. The Inspector General of Intelligence, the Acting Director General of the State Security Agency, the Principal of the Intelligence Academy, veterans of our intelligence service, distinguished guests, members of the intelligence community. The security services of the Republic of South Africa comprise a single defense force, a single police service, and intelligence services established in terms of the Constitution. The functions of these national security structures entail not only to protect and preserve national security as governed by constitutional principles in terms of Section 198, but are a critical component of our sovereignty, territorial integrity, and our founding democratic values as enshrined in the Constitution of the Republic. Our national security structures are obliged to shield themselves from threats aimed at undermining their capacity to perform their functions and the capability of state to fulfill its constitutional obligation. The ancient concepts of intelligence gathering, secrecy, discipline, and security adopted during the King Shaka's times are even more relevant today to combat the security threats that are facing our country. Our Constitution, the Constitution of the Republic, Chairperson, enjoins the state and the citizens, all our citizens, to protect and preserve national security to ensure a free and a prosperous South Africa. This national security imperative is informed by the history of apartheid that had placed the role of intelligence and security organs of the state as weapons of mass repression and mass oppression. It was also the very same intelligence structures, both of the previous regime and the liberation movement, that played a central role in the negotiation process that led to the birth of the new South Africa. The mission of our national security, as guided by the principles prescribed in Section 108, is to build a people-centric national security doctrine, which is based on the values of our Constitution, the Constitution of the Republic. The Battle of Isandlwane, which took place on the 22nd of January, 1879, is a classical illustration of unity of purpose and adherence to values to protect and preserve nationhood against hostile elements that seek to undermine the Republic and her people. The defeat of the British colonial forces at Isandlwane was not accidental or magical, Chairperson, but was a calculation of greater military precision driven by quality of intelligence and strategies employed by King Treasury Kampande. It was also a combination of the values of patriotism, a sense of duty, a sense of sacrifice, loyalty, and above all, consciousness and a discipline to protect and preserve national security, national interest, which must be an embodiment of our security, of our national security policy. On the 17th of January, 1879, Chairperson, addressing the regiments in the great military crawl of Nondwengu, King Treasury issued demands to the enemy that had invaded Zululand to be crushed and defeated. And in so doing, he was informed by the accurate intelligence on the enemy's movement and the need to ensure coordinated strategy of concealing and protecting the movements of his own regiments. Present at this gathering at Nondwengu, in attendance, were the regiments of Intontela, Umkhapo, Ubulawayo, Indlodlo, Uthulwayo, Udukuza, Ingobamakhosi, Udududu, and other regiments. The military deployment of horn formation, flanking and disrupting the enemy, allowing the chest, Ingobamakhosi, to move closer to the enemy and deliver a final blow, was informed by the principle of concealment and protection of the striking force. Aware of the striking capabilities of his regiments, King Treasury underscored the protection of Ingobamakhosi, which was a corps or a barely striking elite regiment that delivered the final stroke to the heart of the British forces at Isandlwane. Aware of the need to protect children, the elders, the vulnerable, and properties, King Treasury deployed female regiments that comprise Utiane, Amadludlu, Amaduku, Amakwati, and other.
I was not aware it's Heritage Day today.
And other great regiments to maintain conditions of security and allay fears of the enemy invasion. While preserving and protecting national security in the mandate is a mandate of the national security structures, the leadership like that of King Treasury ought to inspire us to understand our critical responsibility in ensuring that national security structures are protected from hostile forces. South Africans from all walks of life also have a patriotic duty to protect the sovereignty, territorial integrity, and the country against hostile elements that seek to undermine our hard-earned democracy. Some of those hostile elements include the plethora of information peddlers who, in the words of the retired Ghanaian intelligence officer Kofi Quainstein, have become nation wreckers whose mission is subversion and sabotage to destabilize legitimate governments. The phenomenon of fake news is one other vehicle at the disposal of these hostile information peddlers. As a country, South Africa, we have not been immune from the hostile activities of these information peddlers who have been jumping from one administration to another, seeking to endanger a climate of plots and counterplots. This includes, Chairperson, entrenching a culture dominated by conspiratorial tendencies, leading to mistrust and divisions that undermine social cohesion in South Africa and elsewhere in the African continent. Each time they manifested their hostile machinations, the South African intelligence community is left reeling from mandate disorientation, internal divisions, disruption of business, and more restructuring fatigue. We have a national duty and a collective responsibility to deal decisively with this phenomenon, and in order for national security to reflect the resolve of South Africans as individuals, as a nation, to live as equals, to live in peace and harmony, to be free from fear and want, and to seek a better life. Intelligence must be secured in order to perform its mandatory constitutional duties. Our victorious history of wars of resistance against colonial conquest teaches our current and future generations that our people have long understood the need to protect and preserve national security and to ensure discipline and loyalty among ourselves. As part of consolidation of our national security doctrinal shift that embodies our constitutional values, members of parliament should be aware that the President of the Republic re-established the National Security Council in 2019. The role of the NSC is to advise and support the President and the National Executive on matters of national security and national interest. It is also charged, the NSC, with the responsibility to develop national security strategy, national interest, the national security policy to give effect and an expression to the governance of the new overarching security architecture of the Republic of South Africa. In order for national security to reflect the resolve of South Africans as individuals, as a nation, to live as equals, to live in peace and harmony, to be free from fear and want, to seek a better life, intelligence, again, once more, must be secured and protected in order to perform its constitutional duties. Parliament and the National Executive, in compliance with the law, must ensure that the State Security Agency does not only protect and preserve national security, but also shields itself from hostile forces in order to perform its constitutional mandate. The concealment and the protection of intelligence operations is an ancient art that has been passed on us by our great warriors and kings who fought wars of resistance against colonial conquest and foreign agendas that were designed to subjugate our people to become subservient, dehumanized, and subordinated to ruthless foreign powers. In line with the doctrinal shift, rebuilding the organization, the intelligence capabilities would involve, among others, improving systems and advancing our technological capacity to conduct intelligence, strengthen partnerships and collaborations with both our domestic and foreign counterparts, and consolidating our human and financial resources. We thus began as an agency to change management process that focuses on our short-term, medium-term, and long-term priorities towards the achievement of a transformed intelligence agency. Our latest report on the implementation of the organization-wide recommendations of the high-level review panel report on state security reveals that we are making steady progress in areas such as establishment of governance structures, audit and risk issues, skills audit issues involving capacity building and organizational culture change. Among other things that we've made progress, Chairperson, we've already established Ministerial Advisory Council on Training, We've already established the Ministerial Implementation Task Team. We've already established the Ministerial Appeals and Adjudication Board. The resuscitation, we've already resuscitated the work of the Audit and Risk Team Committee. We've also appointed a task team on sexual harassment and bullying in the workplace. From a technological advancement point of view, members will be aware about a rapid rise in organized crime, cyber crimes, and other forms of sophisticated crimes, propelled by advancement in technology, both local and global level. These types of crimes inevitably present complex challenges to intelligence and law enforcement authorities to effectively deal with them. The spread of new and smart technologies that enable a global information environment empower people to see more, share more, create more, and organize faster than ever before, brings about new threats and opportunities in the intelligence environment and community. Individuals and groups today have access to more information than the entire government once possessed. They can swiftly organize and act on what they learn, sometimes leading to violent change. It is upon this diffusion of technology and change in people's behavior that we need an ICT-enabled environment to ensure an integrated approach in guaranteeing that the Republic of South Africa is defended and protected in a coordinated and sustainable way, Chairperson. In the past, Chairperson and honorable members, we have highlighted our concerns with regard to cybersecurity vulnerability for both the state and the private sector. This has been compounded by the onset of the coronavirus pandemic, which has created new challenges and opportunities for business and government as they adapt to operating models in which digital information and online communication has become a new normal. The increased dependency on technology such as internet and cloud, among others, has led to the rise in cyber attacks, since the individuals working from home do not enjoy the same inherent protection or deterrent measures available in a normal working environment. The increase in remote working calls for a greater focus on cybersecurity and vigilance against other sophisticated crimes presented by accelerated use of technology. As such, Chairperson, and as part of digital transformation efforts, the agency has completed its technology audit with a view of replacing obsolete legacy technologies and leveraging on a new emerging technologies. In the coming financial year, the agency will be developing an integrated technology strategy and a roadmap which revolutionize our organization's technologies, people and process to fundamentally change to our operations and performance. Furthermore, Chairperson, our national communications component, in line with the national intelligence priorities relating to cyber threats, will provide information assurance services to organs of state in order to manage the cybersecurity risk related to use, processing, storage, and transmission of information. The national security component will also provide continuous ICT security monitoring by detecting cyber threats that may put confidentiality and continuity of government operations at risk, and by alerting clients on cyber threats and incidents timely and supporting cybersecurity incident response teams. In this regard, Chairperson, we will continue to provide ICT security services and solutions to clients to protect critical information assets. With increased reliability on technology, end users are considered the weak link in cybersecurity, and it is imperative that they understand security and ways of protecting themselves in cyberspace. The agency, together with other government stakeholders, will intensify cybersecurity awareness training and campaigns. Honorable Chairperson, due to global interconnectedness, South Africa and global community continue to face lingering cyber threats from various hostile elements exploiting the cyberspace to advance facilities aimed at undermining financial sector, privacy of our citizens, organizing and planning terrorist-related activities, and harming our national interest. In dealing with these threats, the agency will ensure that the cybersecurity and cybercrime legislation and regulatory framework is completed during this medium term MTSF in order to provide legal protection to people using internet, including government, businesses, and private citizens. The legislative framework will identify and enforce standards of acceptable behavior in the cyberspace and prevent harm to people, to data, to systems, services, and critical information infrastructure. In the past financial year, Chairperson, our national communication completed training in various ICT security solutions, cyber response, artificial intelligence, technology hardware, and management. In the medium term, we look at the provision of foundation of cyber training and cyber range. In addition, we'll also focus on the facilitation of cyber crime investigation, methodology and prosecution, public reporting mechanisms, situation reports, statistics and documentations of cases. All these efforts will be geared towards ensuring a well-secured cyberspace. Threats to national security include cybersecurity threats, terrorism and violence, espionage, transnational organized crime, drug and human trafficking, corruption, subversion, sabotage, spread of pandemic, degrading and undermining of sovereignty and territorial integrity of the Republic are active forms of threats that are transmitted through various platforms at home and abroad. In this journey, part of our important assignment is to be able to capacitate government to respond to identified threats that may have a potential impact to its ability to fulfill its medium-term strategic framework undertaking as well as post-COVID pandemic recovery plans, as announced by His Excellency the President. The last time we presented a budget in this August House, we made a commitment towards the overhaul of the intelligence machinery in order to meet the security challenges of our times. Part of our priorities were and are still informed by the recommendations of the high-level review panel's report on state security. It is important that we also understand, given the complexities and dynamics of our working environment, some of these recommendations can only be implemented incrementally as short-term, medium-term, and long-term priorities. As we continue to reform the intelligence capability of our country, we've decided to do so by imagining the future. Therefore, this budget takes on a futuristic posture based on the threats, opportunities, and challenges facing in South Africa's intelligence community in this century. Some of the threats, Chairperson, and priorities we identified include socioeconomic vulnerabilities, such as high levels of unemployment, cyberspace security, regional security challenges, countering international terrorism, domestic political stability, and economic prosperity. Responding to these threats and harnessing opportunities where such exist, we believe this requires a transformed intelligence capability, an organization responsive to the complex challenges of the 21st century. Today, Chairperson, marks the beginning of June month, a historic moment in our country's history, where the youth confronted a powerful racist regime in the struggle to free the country from clutches of racism and underdevelopment. Since this historic moment of June 16, 1976, the youth of our country have always defined and pursued a struggle for their emancipation as a strategic pillar of our democratic society. In our change management journey to revitalize and reposition the agency into a dynamic and efficient organization, we've embraced and decided that the strategic posture to bring the youth into the mainstream of our organizational mission.
Deputy Minister. We seem to have lost you, frozen.
By high attrition rate, which far outstrips the rate of recruitment, resulting in limited capacity to respond to ever-growing and challenging and changing security demands of the 21st century. To address this challenge, we have started with implementation of a cadet program, which is aimed at rejuvenating SSA talent pool with young, capable, and energetic young people. The cadet program is targeting youth and particularly women in response to government call to address unemployment and poverty challenges facing our South Africa's community. The Intelligence Academy, IA, will be responsible for developing the curriculum for this program so that learning outcomes addresses the specific intelligence skills required. It is also anticipated, Chairperson, that the cadet program will address skills needs within the agency to build capacity and professionalize the intelligence environment. Other skills development initiatives, Chairperson, will be implementing in this financial year will include the development of intelligence officer, operator development program, the establishment of a career mobility program to allow for career mobility, progression through a variety of occupational streams, and the development of a management development program that embraces the new world of work methodology. This will be directly aimed at capacitating emerging young leaders, managers within the agency with the necessary skills for the craft. We will also research the feasibility of implementing digital learning process within the State Security Agency or a blended learning solution, and also finalize the draft skills development framework that is couched in learning adaptability, future literacy, and future skills. In line with rapid change in education, training and development sector, Chairperson, the Intelligence Agency is undergoing a major restructuring process. This is being done in order to review and realign its vision, mission, and values, and operational disposition and product offerings as per recommendations of the high-level review panel and the constant changing intelligence environment. To this end, the Minister of State Security, Honorable Ayanda Lada, has since approved the institutionalization of philosophical framework. This important intervention is in a form of guiding document that was approved on 16th of March, 2021. Essentially, the philosophical framework of the Intelligence Academy outlines the new values, a new vision, and principles to be observed by all involved in the work of education, training, and development within the South African civilian intelligence community. It also informs the approach to product design, development, and offering. This includes providing guidance on how external and internal relations are to be managed. To an extent that philosophical framework is to be given practical expression, internal consultations around the development of a turnaround strategy are ensuing, and the process towards approving it will be completed in the current financial year, Chairperson. The Intelligence Academy continues to coordinate corporate-related training based on the prioritized skills generated from workplace skills plan for purposes of coordinating and acquisition of prioritized corporate-related skills. The agency has since approved the proposal to start with the process of launching a school for governance and ethical conduct. As you may be aware, Chairperson and members, of the disturbing findings and the recommendations of the high-level review panel and the subsequent allegations and counter-allegations of corruption and malfeasance at the Zondo Commission and in the media space, the public image of the agency has been compromised. We continue to support all interventions and efforts to improve and professionalize the agency. In this regard, we support the process that is unfolding at the Zondo Commission, and we're also implementing the recommendations of the high-level review panel to enhance the accountability and transparency. Among the crucial and significant high-level review intervention is the need to secure the services of the independent forensic investigation that will probe allegations of corruption committed by some members of the agency. The agency, Chairperson, is at an advanced stage in appointing an independent forensic firm to deal with the alleged misconduct. There are currently more than 5 cases that have been referred to a police for further investigation and prosecution. We have also made significant progress, Chairperson, in stabilizing management of the agency and to curtail the practice of prolonged, often illegal acting periods in line with the recommendations of the high-level review panel. After a process of consultation with management of the agency, we have finalized the permanent appointment of senior management in line with the National Intelligence Service Act 65 of 2002, promotional policies of the agency, and internal consultation with management and members of the agency. As part of ongoing process, nearly 70% of vacancies are now filled, with the remainder current in various recruitment stages. We are confident that this will bring overdue stability and certainty with a spillover effect on efficiency and optimal performance, Chairperson. In line with above stabilization efforts, the agency has established effective arrangements to ensure that public funds and resources are properly safeguarded and are used economically. The internal structures such as internal audit, risk management office, as well as management services, which are located in the office of the accounting officer, are key elements towards ensuring good governance and internal administrative control. Members will also note that the agency has a good working relation to the office of the AG, Auditor General, as well as Audit and Risk Committee. The agency has come a long way in ensuring that systems that improve governance are developed and are implemented. The Office of the Auditor General and the Audit Risk Committee play an important role in realizing this role. We are grateful for their continued cooperation, Chairperson. Notwithstanding these measures, corruption remains a threat not only to the South African economy, but is a challenge in some government entities and departments. The agency is not immune to this scourge. The agency had uncovered some elements of corrupt activities among its members. Unfortunately, corruption is a center force offense that in the past, weak oversight of governance and management systems have been identified as the main contributing factors. We are encouraged by the ongoing process to prosecute some of our members who are allegedly involved in corrupt and fraudulent activities within the state agency, security agency. We will continue supporting any initiative that seeks to root out corruption and fraudulent activities in the agency in order to turn around the institution to ensure the safety of our country and help people. In this regard, we are finalizing the remodeling of our vetting capacity and integrity framework for both agencies and organs of state. This will require an extensive human and financial resources, Chairperson. As part of our intervention to improve the image and governance system, the agency will strengthen its policy and compliance enforcement unit. Honorable Chairperson, national security is an expression of the resolve of the Republic and her people to create conditions conducive to democracy, economic development, prosperity, and well-being of her people. At the same time, the agency is cognizant of the fact that security of South Africa is linked to the security of countries in the southern region, the African continent in general, as well as global security and stability. As part of global community, South Africa has also been impacted by the invisible enemy in the guise of COVID-19. The proliferation of infectious diseases such as COVID-19 have made negative impact not only on the ways and means in which the agency pursues its mandate to protect national security and advance national interests, it also affected our economy and our ability to deal with poverty, unemployment, and a systematic inequality. Like many foreign invading forces, COVID-19 has all marks of threats to our national security. Southern Africa is experiencing growing threats of insecurity, and these include transnational organized crimes, threats to terrorism, displacement of our people, humanitarian crisis, illegal migration, illicit mining, and illicit flows. The recent Taylor-relating violent attacks on northern Mozambique and southern Tanzania are some of the concerning emerging insecurities in the region. Africa as a continent is experiencing deteriorating stability and thus is unlikely to improve over the next few years. Transitional arrangements, mounting public agitations over governance and economic mismanagement, contentions over election outcomes and increased social protest on the continent contribute to rise in military determined political outcomes. As a result, Chairperson, the agency continues to be concerned with the security development in the region, as well as somewhere in the Middle East. In line with the theme of this budget, Chairperson, I quote, national security is the patriotic duty and the responsibility of the state and the citizens of the Republic, all citizens of the Republic. Our strategic focus will continue to ensure that national security is a patriotic duty and the responsibility of every citizen. I would like to take this opportunity to thank senior management of the agency, the support staff and members for their support throughout the difficult year we come from since we presented the last budget. In conclusion, Chairperson, I have a pleasure and a singular honor to table this budget vote and the policy statement on behalf of the ministry and the agency for the financial year 2021 and 2022. I recommend the House to approve this budget vote. I thank you very much, Chairperson, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister of State Security. Thank you so much. I call on the Honorable J.J. Make from the ANC.
Thank you, Chairperson. Ministers and deputy ministers, comrades and colleagues. Firstly, I would like the House to note that during these tough and trying times, the committee lost two of its members, Honorable Mufokeng and Honorable Hermans. Allow me, Chairperson, to bid farewell to the retired Chief of the South African National Defence Force, General Soli Shokwe, together with other members of the Military Command Council, including the now retired Chief of Defence Intelligence, Lieutenant General Jeremiah Nyembe. We thank our generals for their dedication and good service. We also welcome the new MCC under the leadership of the newly appointed Chief of the SADF, General Ruzani Mapanya, and our new Chief of Defence Intelligence, Lieutenant General Talita Mkakato, who is the first female to occupy this position and a member of the Military Command Council. We congratulate our new commanders who commenced their terms of office today and wish them strength in dealing with the challenges faced by our armed forces amid budget reductions in the past few years. We also thank our Inspector General of Intelligence, Dr. S.I. Dintwe, who is in his final year of this term. By the time we debate the budget of the SSA next year, we would have vacated the office. We thank him for the dedication and ensuring that he executes the mandate of his office in accordance with the Intelligence Services Oversight Act number 40 of 1994. Chairperson, the constitution of this country, which by the way is one of the very best in the whole world, is the basic legislation that governs the security services. Chapter 11 of the Constitution lays out the principles governing national security and also provides for the establishment, structuring, and conduct of the security services encompassing intelligence, defense, and police services. Section 198 prescribes that the following principles, among others, govern national security in the country. National security must reflect the resolve of South Africans as individuals and as a nation to live as equals, to live in peace and harmony, to be free from fear and want, and to seek a better life. The resolve to live in peace and harmony precludes any South African citizen from participating in armed conflict nationally or internationally, except as provided for in terms of the Constitution of national legislation or national legislation. National security must be pursued in compliance with the law, including international law, and national security is subject to the authority of Parliament and the national executive. The Constitution goes further in section 199 to say that the security services of the Republic consist of a single defense force, a single police service, and any intelligence services established in terms of the Constitution. Other than the security services established in terms of the Constitution, armed organizations or services may be established only in terms of the national legislation. No member of any security services may obey a manifestly illegal order or further in a partisan manner any interest of a political party, etc. In relation to the latter, I can confidently stand on this podium and declare that in our committee, we've gone beyond party political issues and are all of us genuinely dealing with the issues of the security of our country in our deliberations. And I think our committee needs to be commended for that. It is common knowledge that our security and intelligence services had very serious problems. This is the reason why the president of the country even decided to establish a high-level review panel on state security agency to look into abnormalities that were manifesting themselves in this environment. The panel's terms of reference provided 12 focus areas. Among others, the panel's work was to look into the impact of the amalgamation of the previous services into one agency and the appropriateness of this change. The appropriateness of the current structure of the agency to its core mandates and to effective command, control, and accountability. The mandate and capacity of SSA and to examine the compatibility of its structure in relation to this mandate. The institutional culture, morale, systems, and capacity to deliver on the mandate. The involvement of members of the national executive in intelligence operations and measures to prevent this. The policy framework, including legislation that governs operational activities conducted by members of the national executive. The development of guidelines that will enable members to report a manifestly illegal order as envisaged in section 199(6) of the Constitution. The effectiveness and appropriateness of the existing oversight mechanism in ensuring accountability and transparency. The main question the panel asked itself was, what went wrong? In their finding, the panel found that the amalgamation of NIA and SAS into SSA was in breach of the white paper on intelligence, and at the very least should have been preceded by a similar policy process as involved in the original white paper, including consultations in Parliament and with the public. Initial establishment of SSA through presidential proclamation was irregular due to the constitutional requirements that the president can only establish intelligence services through legislation. Stated intentions of amalgamating the previous services was not achieved and in fact created new and more serious problems, including amongst others, excessive concentration of power, and excessive top-heaviness of management, lack of proper focus on foreign intelligence, duplication of certain functions such as analysis and dislocation of personnel. And lastly, that the change of the name from National Intelligence Agency to State Security Agency was in breach of the human security philosophy of our democratic dispensation contained in the Constitution and the White Paper. The panel then came with recommendations that were accepted and signed off by the President for implementation. Honorable Chairperson, I thought it was necessary to give this background so that everyone could understand the job that the committee is faced with from its inception. One other point raised by the panel was the key challenges faced by the intelligence services, the government and public that they serve, is agreeing on the appropriate balance from those services between secrecy and transparency. In relation to the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence, the white paper proposes a mechanism for parliamentary oversight as a joint standing committee for parliament with functions and powers that will allow it to receive reports, make recommendations, order investigations, and hold hearings on matters relating to intelligence and national security. The committee will also prepare a summit and submit reports to Parliament about the performance of its duties and functions. It is obvious that a lot of people would be listening with one ear to the introductory part of this budget debate, but in actual fact, waiting for me to address what has been coming out of the Zondo Commission. Chairperson, I'm sorry to disappoint them, as everything that is said at the commission happened before this committee was established. All this committee can talk about is what we intend doing about this state of affairs. The Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence is following the events at the commission and looks forward to the report. However, rest assured that the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence is aware of the challenges faced by the services and is providing oversight as per its mandate as contained in the Oversight Act. The committee is dealing with the challenges facing the intelligence services. One of the most important tasks is overseeing the implementation of the high-level review panel report on the state security agents. One of the recommendations is the separation of the SSA into two separate agencies housing the domestic and foreign branches. The high-level review panel report identified most of the challenges faced by SSA, some which have been ventilated at the Zondo Commission. Overcoming these challenges will ensure that our intelligence services are playing the role they are mandated to fulfill. We are, however, concerned that the implementation of the high-level report panel recommendations or directives has been very slow. In this regard, the committee will continue to engage the Minister of State Security and the management of the SSA to implement the recommendations without delay and continue reporting regularly as resolved by the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence. To many citizens of the country, the testimonies at the Zondo Commissions are shocking. However, the committee is aware of these issues since some of the matters were identified when the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence of the 6th Parliament was established. The solution to all these problems that have been highlighted in the Zondo Commission is only one: to implement the high-level review panel report as it addresses all what was said as major problems in the Commission of Inquiry. Honorable Chairperson, the purpose of today's debate is to talk about the budget of the agency. The actual fact in relation to the budget is that the budget for upgrading equipment and tools of trade, that is technology, must be increased exponentially if we want to avoid embarrassment in the immediate future, or rather we are already an embarrassment to the outside world. If technology and the equipment used by the state security agency is so obsolete that it can't even trace simple WhatsApp, then we are in serious trouble. The only advantage is that we can't go around telling everybody who we are as I just did now, hoping no one heard me. What the committee has done and continues to do will be contained in our first annual report of this parliamentary term, which we considered recently. We are confident that the current leadership will deal with the challenges as well as consider and implement the recommendations of the committee. The committee supports the budget. And on a lighter note, the African Parliament, on the very last day of Africa Month, maybe people will ask, where was the intelligence when that happened? They should have seen what would have happened yesterday, which in any way is not the function of the intelligence services. The committee supports the budget, and I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mike. The next speaker is from the DA, the Honorable G. Collar.
Thank you, Chairperson. Before I begin, allow me to say that my thoughts and prayers are with the families of our two honourable members, Nombulelo Hermans and Jackie Mofokeng, both stalwarts of the committee, level-headed, never sinking to attempt to score political points off us as colleagues. These women are much, much missed. Out of the hundreds of pages that comprise the high-level review panel report on the State Security Agency, there's a single line that sums up the issues faced in terms of parliamentary oversight, coupled with the almost daily revelations from the Zondo Commission and elsewhere. There is a disproportionate application of secrecy in the SSA, stifling effective accountability and facilitating serious non-compliance with controls, including blatant criminality. Now, today there are South Africans who duck while the hand grenades are tossed left and right out the Zondo Commission, and the virtually daily headlines read like some spy versus spy cartoon series. Amongst all of these, there are those who've begun to call this, the HLR report, into question. Some of the testimony given at the Zondo Commission claims that 59 billion went missing from the SSA. Another claim it was 9 billion looted, but the current minister says this is all a complete fabrication. Indeed, she herself said here in the National Assembly that no, it wasn't 9 billion looted, it was only 9 million. Of course, she has to rely on information given to her about what happened before her time with the SSA, and one has to ask whether or not the information given to her is perhaps not from the very people behind the looting. Certainly not 1 rand has been recovered, nor 1 person jailed in this regard. We heard clearly in one presentation to the Zondo Commission that, for example, 9 billion in so-called assets simply disappeared. Added to that, it seems if one's petty cash runs dry, there are always the safes locked in what are supposedly the most secure premises in the country. Stroll in, walk out with 17 million in foreign currency and hand the money to who? Well, that's the multi-billion rand question, isn't it? The high-level panel report released to the public on the 10th of March 2019 was compiled by Dr. Sydney Mofamadi and a team comprising 9 other members with a wide range of senior-level experience and expertise in law, security studies, civil society, academia, intelligence and security communities, and other arms of government. Extraordinary people, every one of them. But this is the team the minister says got it wrong, that the billions looted weren't really. Now, at face value, the minister is a very charming individual, although, of course, there have been endless well-publicized claims she has a tendency to ride roughshod over senior staff at the SSA. Indeed, she's facing a myriad accusations, and I'm quite sure it's all part of the job, that she's a gambling addict, that she's married to a CIA operative, that she's allied to the Zuma camp. The mudslinging just goes on and on. And then, like a bad episode of Isidingo, came the shenanigans surrounding this very minister, an affair, a coup, and a foreign country that has South Africans shaking their heads in disbelief. Now, who but President Ramaphosa would think he had the right to allegedly send her to Botswana to try and strong-arm their president into dropping charges of money laundering and the financing of a coup attempt, all of this against his sister-in-law, Bridget Motsepe-Radebe. Of course, one would still be more inclined to dismiss the accusations out of hand against the minister if she hadn't brought back Arthur Fraser's right-hand man, Graham Engel, who is suddenly the general manager of operations in the domestic intelligence branch. Now, in a country reeling from the daily revelation, she brought back a man from 3-year suspension and promoted him. Minister, seriously, how is South Africa supposed to take this whole step aside, not step this way into a prison cell, I might add, just step aside situation, seriously, when there's a distinct feeling that the looters are on their way back, if indeed they ever left. I'm sure the ANC would like us to swallow this whole pre-election revelation that criminality is a really bad thing, so bad that they'll ask those with a barrage of criminal charges against them to step aside. But it seems every time someone inside tries to dish the dirt on their particular division and to turn off the looting taps, they quickly get the boot. Let's look at Mr. Jafta, former acting DG of Intelligence, who testified at the Zondo Commission. Now, we heard in detail how the SSA funded the Zuma-aligned ANC factions and election campaigns. When the minister learned of his intent, she attempted to block him from testifying, but he did, and out he went. Was she trying to hide the wrongdoing in the agency during the Zuma years? Of course she denies it, but that moved naturally through fuel on the whole she's a member of the Zuma camp fire. It's not as if these revelations have come from a single source, because the Jafta revelations were closely followed, for example, and amongst many others, by those of the Inspector General of Intelligence, Advocate Dintwe. He too has had the SSA in a flurry by bearing all to the Zondo Commission, not all of it flattering to the minister, as he announced that she had appointed 26 managers without following proper procedures, ignoring employment regulations, as well as the DG's refusal to recommend the appointments. Additionally, he claimed the SSA had 40 operatives employed without any criteria whatsoever, and who was seriously peeved that they were not being given the positions they were sure they would receive. He said the recruitment procedure was now abused by politically connected people and that nepotism had crept in. I'm shocked. Smoke, mirrors, plots, and paranoia. Reports over the years have always claimed that each and every Minister of Intelligence has hired cadres, rather as Richard Mbluli did when he hired 7, if not many more, totally unqualified members of his immediate family into crime intelligence. Advocate Dintwe confirmed this, stating that both ministers and officials recruited and appointed agents loyal to them personally. He referred to the manipulation of the judges, to the pressure put on Robert McBride, previously infamously kicked out as head of the IPID, not to investigate within the SSA, and also confirmed wholesale looting by giving an example that lots of money, up to 200,000 euros at a time, was stolen in suitcases from the SSA and then used to fund a faction of the ANC. 200,000 euros is nearly 3.5 million rand. With the State Security Agency, by all accounts, knee-deep in unaccounted for and untraceable cash, it was hardly a surprise that even the Minister of Finance was moved to threaten not to pay their budget should they not recover the monies stolen from their various impregnable safes. One doesn't want to believe this, because to think that the looters would be put back into positions of power right at the very moment the Zondo Commission was sitting and revealing all, well, the audacity of it is unimaginable. Sadly, all indications are that as the Zondo Commission tightens the state capture noose, so the looters are repositioning and looting perhaps even faster than before. The JSCI is by law tasked with oversight over agencies that remain invisible on the whole. The strictures are that we may bring in nothing to the meetings, leave with nothing and say nothing, or we as honourable members face jail. Frankly, the newspapers are writing it all for us these days. One must ask if we don't perhaps glean more from those reports than we do inside the committee. This is how the billions were stolen, by keeping committee members in a dungeon of darkness, because that is what those of the intelligent agencies are apparently trained to do, and then blame our colleagues of the former parliament for not doing their job while the billions were stolen. The high-level report says there are excessive levels of secrecy, and as committee members, while we may not even be emailed so much as an agenda, over the past year, barely a day has gone by without a headline revealing more spy versus spy antics, while the Zondo Commission has pretty much stripped the State Security Agency bare. Top of the charges against Arthur Fraser is that he ran an illegal parallel intelligence structure called the Principal Agent Network, as the then Director General of the SSA. Now, the high-level report found that PAN was involved in serious criminal behavior under the guise of conducting covert work, and the behavior may have involved theft, forgery, and uttering fraud, corruption, and bordered on organized crime. The current president didn't fire Fraser. He shifted him over to, of all places, Correctional Services DG, in which position he has sat untouched by investigation to this very day. Now that was, one supposes, the first of the step-aside exercises, and a jolly highly paid step it was. Now his chum, his lieutenant, is back where the looting took place, and reports are that his reinstatement was on the orders of, wait for it, the president. What next? Is Fraser on his way back? For the information of those who perhaps unsure of what exactly this murky state security business entails, it's a three-legged pot which stands on the State Security Agency, Crime and Defence Intelligence. It is supposed to be the frontline force field tasked with protecting every civilian in South Africa. Now, if you imagine that the looting has only been happening at the SSA, you've just not been listening. A decade ago, I spoke out about Mdluli, looting from the CI/fund. And now the latest set of CI has been suspended under what I believe to be a manufactured cloud held over the heads of those trying to stop the looting, rather like the hatchet job they did on General Johan Boysen. We've watched as General Jacobs, who had finally turned off those looting taps in crime intelligence, was himself, perhaps inevitably, stitched up, removed and dumped where it can do no harm. And from all I'm told, the looting taps are switched on full again. Richard Mdluli, if they can find him, must be so pleased. Yesterday, a draft internal audit report revealed that 1.6 billion had been looted in PPE procurements over just 6 months. Yet the man with the letter from the Treasury giving him permission is the only one suspended. Moving on to the third leg, the military, slim, fit, the cream of the crop. One might have imagined that defence intelligence was too principled to loot. Well, you'd be wrong. In December, we were startled to hear of weapons being stolen. 19 R4s manufactured for extreme warfare were taken in the robbery from a supposedly highly protected military facility. Of course, it was an inside job and was a stark reminder of earlier thefts of similar weapons. Oddly enough, weapons exactly like those that have been used in various bank and cash and transit heists recently. And there's more. A leaked investigation report has revealed a veritable looting spree of 4 billion from the SANDF. The investigation implicates the defence intelligence bosses, but has never been officially made public. So the State Security Agency, Crime and Defence Intelligence, all involved on looting on a grand scale. What we need in each of these three entities is a drive to create modern, fully trained organizations led by extraordinary people, able to perform in this fast-paced world, not unqualified friends, lovers, and children. We need an intelligence environment free of scandal and inefficiency, and as the HLR states, we need to move away from the highly secretive intelligence milieu and look for the quality of the output rather than the quantity of the plundering. Of course, this government should focus primarily on the terrible situation the majority of South Africans find themselves locked into. And what we as a country certainly do not need is this bloated, expensive, secretive network. The high-level report gave crystal clear direction 2 years ago, but today all we see is infighting. We need clear priorities, a visible move away from that big man-driven doctrinal shift, world-class training, and a review of the legislation, bringing it in line with international best practice. What we get is muddied waters, backstabbing on a brutal level, and zero legislation to the extent perhaps committee bills are the only way to go. Surely losing the court case to Amabongane, which now prevents your bulk surveillance, was a wake-up call. We all know the rot goes much deeper than the 6 areas of unconstitutionality identified by the court. We need these 3 agencies to provide unique insights into threats and trends which will protect South Africa and all who live in it. We have just a flimsy washing line between us and a war across the northern border, but let me repeat, no one has been jailed, not a single cent recovered. Does the DA believe the looting has stopped? No. Does the DA believe the ANC wanted to stop? No. Does the DA know what claims were made by the Deputy Minister at the Zondo Commission? Yes. Does the DA believe the 3 agencies can be saved and enabled to do the crucial jobs they are mandated to do? Yes. And when we run South Africa, we will ensure that happens.
Thank you, Honorable Paula. The next speaker is Honorable Ndozi from the EFF.
Thank you indeed, Chairperson. It is important to immediately inform the people of South Africa that the annual performance plans of State Security Agency were actually never properly processed with the JSCI. On several occasions, we witnessed the complete breakdown of working relations between the minister and the agency, between SSA acting chief financial officer and those presiding over the National Communications Center. In addition, we can count at least 3 different occasions in which the agency presented APPs which the minister dismissed in front of the committee, yet again demonstrating complete collapse of lines of communication and authority. To bring this budget, which was half-baked in the final hours just to gain parliamentary approval is dishonest and in complicity with the dysfunctionality of the SSA. We have never, over the past 12 months, received any strategic briefing that relates to the work of safeguarding national security from the SSA. Not once have we ever been presented with any credible intelligence product. The work related to Cabo Delgado, for an example, is much have to do with defense intelligence. Each time we have interacted with the agency, it has either been to explain controversies exposed already in the media or to hear internal fights and squabbles. They are so dysfunctional, they cannot adequately perform their constitutional functions. Moreover, there is a massive resistance and sabotage of all efforts to have the NCC responsible for interceptions to find independence standing outside the SSA. This is achieved through budgetary sabotage mechanisms. Our own interaction with the judge for interception revealed how SSA does not comply with the required attempts to submit reports timeously and requests for interception, another sign of either dysfunctionality or that they are actually engaging in illegal interception activities since they are not submitting any requests. Therefore, the JSCI, as JSCI, we cannot honestly say we know what money is being used for and under what conditions in the SSA. In the past, we could blame the secrecy of the institution which provided cover over corruption through a complex network of pretentious operations. Today, it is utter dysfunctionality. We must further inform the people of South Africa about our own inquiry into why former acting DG Jafta went to testify at the Zondo Commission without the minister's blessing. Jafta told us as a committee received instructions directly from the President of the Republic. He even indicated how the morning before his appearance at the commission, he had breakfast with the president to finalize or to touch base on the details of the presentation at the commission. This is all the while the minister of the same president went to court in an attempt to stop Jafta from going to the commission, apparently also under the direct instructions of the same president. We must tell the people of South Africa this to demonstrate the kind of madness we're dealing with, the kind of dramatic dysfunctionality that characterizes civilian intelligence operations. This is why we say the greatest threat to national security today is the SSA itself. The agency has to be forced to stabilize, take action on all those who have defied the codes of practices and implicated in the abuse of state resources. To this day, despite evidence, there's no single individual that has been fired or is being prosecuted for corrupt activities of the SSA. Since the appointment of the current minister and deputy minister in 2019, the SSA has not improved. We must also inform the people of South Africa that the high-level panel review report submitted amongst by others by Mufamadi has been internally discredited by the SSA. An example of this is our own quest to find evidence supporting the testimony led by Mufamadi and other SSA people like Jafta, in which they claim that judges or people in the judiciary were on SSA payroll. To this day, we have not seen such evidence. The SSA's own response is that the high-level review panel, Mufamadi and Jafta, are information peddlers, or at least they are driven or were misled by information peddlers. Dangerous claims can be made in this country about an important institution like the judiciary by highly placed individuals in the civilian intelligence community without any evidence whatsoever, whether to us as a committee or even to the Zondo Commission, and there are no implications. This is the evidence of the danger that national security poses to the stability of South Africa. For if all of us were to believe that the judges of this country are on a payroll, it is a direct threat to the stability of our country, since the courts are at the center of resolving all types of disputes, and they must be trusted by all. We must therefore reject this budget. Unfortunately, the hope in stabilizing SSA no longer lies with this executive. Their own president, the sitting president of the Republic, seems impotent and complicit in the internal instability of the state security agency. The only solution is that We reject the budget, they go stabilize, or the ANC government must be removed from power for a completely new set of political leadership that will destabilize the over-politicization of the SSA and have it perform its function in line with the constitution and the legislation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Ndozi. Honorable Ngumalo, you the next speaker from the IFP.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. So the department has official mandate to provide our government with intelligence on both domestic and foreign threats to enable our government to respond to such threats calmly and decisively. This department is the pillar of our democracy. It does not exist to serve the executive, in whose control it is, but to serve the people of our country, regardless of who is in charge at any particular point. Properly executed, the mandate of this department can assist this government in keeping ahead of threats to our sovereignty. However, this department cannot deliver on this mandate at this time. Instead of helping the government to understand security threats, this department has been mired in gross irregularities, if not outright corruption, in the expenditure of public funds. We are here today to discuss the budget of the department, which operates in the shadow and whose expenditure of public funds is not accounted for. Those of us who care to follow the revelation in various platforms will note that the department does not properly account for its assets and does not have checks to prevent the slander of our hard-earned taxpayers' money. Given the current climate of corruption in this government, the department has become a cash cow, not only for rogue intelligence operatives, but also for politicians. We should ask ourselves, Honorable Chair, where the plunder of this department's funds will take this nation. Are we delivering value for money from the current model of funding of this department? Do we really know whether the funds allocated to this department will be used for the intended purpose? Do we intend to keep this funding model whose legitimate reasons for secrecy are being abused for the enrichment of a selected few individuals to the detriment of the country? Honorable members, we need to relook this. We need to respond to the threats posed to this department so that this department can help us to respond to the threats posed to this country. Aside from the corruption in the department and the abuse of our funds for clandestine operations, which occur or do not occur, this department has let our country down. As we speak today, our rail infrastructure is in tatters. Underworld criminal figures are running amok, and public funds are looted by private entities in partnership with the rich elements in the department. If this department was fully committed with mandate, it will pay great attention to these issues, which can not only deprive our people of services by destroying critical infrastructure, but which may, in the long term, encourage a culture of impunity by eroding our democratic institutions. Honorable members, the IFP reiterates that in doing the little that it can, the department must focus on serving the people of South Africa, not politicians or other members of this government. This department must steer clear of invitations to participate in infrastructure, infiltrating the will of the people by aiding one political outfit over the other. The IFP believes that our political and legal systems are designed to work smoothly without any aiding and abetting by this department. We hope that the department will use this budget for its intended and the lawful purpose. The IFP accepts this budget, Honorable Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ngumalo. The next speaker is Honorable Alson Swartz from the ACDP.
Thank you, House Chair. Thank you so much. The ACDP shares the deep concerns about evidence given at the Zondo Commission relating to the high levels of fraud and corruption at state security, as referred to by various speakers today. The Commission received testimonies from various members of the SSA who allege that even former President Zuma used the intelligence service as a personal protective force. According to these allegations, the agency even attempted to disrupt negative press attention in the media and recruit members of the judiciary for favorable court outcomes for President Zuma. The earlier testimony of Dr. Mufamadi, who led the high-level review panel into state security, as well as then acting DG Jafta, both broadly corroborated the evidence of two operatives that the allegations are substantially true. What is of great concern is tens of millions of rands held in slush funds were unlawfully paid to former President Zuma for his personal use, according to allegations. State security projects were also set up to influence factional battles within the ANC, and alarmingly, to favor the ANC against opposition parties during election campaigns. Monies were also apparently set aside for the bribing of judges, though it is not known beyond circumstantial evidence whether any such bribes were actually paid. Now, Mr. Jafta also disclosed that the ANC could not account for some 9 billion rands worth of assets, causing Deputy Chief Justice Zondo to say, how could a government department not account for 9 billion rand? With 9 billion rand, imagine what you can do for the people. The ACDP agrees. In addition, the Commission has also heard further evidence from the Inspector General of Intelligence about his findings regarding the illegal use and the flow of money within the intelligence services. And it is of great concern to all of us. Whilst I don't serve on the Joint Standing Committee, what he says is deeply concerning. He says that our finding is that these monies have been used for other things that in fact could affect our national security adversely. For example, some of these monies could be used to fuel political tensions and be even used to finance terrorism. This is deeply, deeply alarming, particularly when our country faces new threats of extremists operating from Mozambique and possibly within our country itself. The solution, as many speakers have indicated, is the urgent implementation of the Mufamadi high-level panel report. Indeed, as President Ramaphosa earlier said, in August last year, the ANC may not stand alone in the dock, but it does stand as accused number one. The ACDP will regrettably, and under these circumstances, not support this budget vote. I thank you, House Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Swart. The next speaker on the platform is the Honorable Sibisi from the NFP.
House Chair, can I speak without the video? My network is bad.
Okay, you're welcome, Honorable Member.
Yes. Honorable House Chair, when the high-level panel review into the state security agents published its findings, it was clear about one concerning matter, that the growing contagion by factionalism in the ANC had progressively worsened from 2009. With the revelations from the Zondo Commission, what remains very clear is that the state security agents has been nothing but a cash cow milked by factionalism within the ANC. Now we have to come here and vote on its budget when so many revelations about corruption have taken place in that institution. This in a way makes us complicit to the corruption that has taken place in that institution. And the biggest gag is that no one may be charged or held to account. Large sums of money were stolen to fund nefarious activities that had nothing to do with the intelligence agency. The Inspector General of Intelligence, Dr. Dintwe, told the Commission that monies were used for other things that in fact could affect our national security adversely. Some of those monies could be used to fuel political tensions, and there is evidence in our possession that some of those monies were used to finance a particular faction within the governing party. With all these revelations, the SSA allocation has increased and will do so even in the outer years. The MK vets have also allegedly received funds from the SSA. Surely, Honorable House Chair, where there is smoke, there is fire. We cannot be comfortable approving budgets for institutions that are poorly governed or governed by individuals who have no desire to serve South Africa, but to benefit themselves through taxpayers' money. To say the least, some of the allegations are disturbing, Honorable House Chair. The fact is, we can sit here and debate this budget vote, but the bottom line is that the budget will be approved and looting of funds from the SSA will continue. We as the National Freedom Party state categorically that we do not support this budget vote due to the serious allegation of corruption that we have learned from the Zondo Commission. We refuse to allow monies to be pumped into this institution. In fact, we propose that the state overhauls the agents once and for all. The high-level panel review findings point to this direction. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sibisi. We don't have a member from the AIC, but I think we do have a member from the ANC, the Honorable MC Dikhale.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Ministers and Deputy Ministers, Honorable Members of Parliament, compatriots, ladies and gentlemen. Let me join my chairperson and bid farewell to the retired Chief of the South African National Defence Force, General Solly Shoke, together with other members of the Military Command Council, including the now retired Chief of Defence Intelligence, Lieutenant General Jeremiah Nyembe. We thank our generals for their dedication and good services. And we also welcome the new MMC under the leadership of the newly appointed Chief of the South African Defence Force, General Ruzani Mapanywa, and our new Chief of Defence Intelligence, Lieutenant General Talita Ngakato, who is the first female to occupy this position and a member of the MMC. We congratulate our new commanders and wish them strength in dealing with the challenges faced by our armed forces amid budget reductions in the past few years. Chairperson, Defense Intelligence is faced with several challenges which are related to budget cuts. The challenges faced by DINEL impact on the performance of our military intelligence. The failure of DINEL will lead to the erosion of our sovereign capabilities. When we visited Defense Intelligence Headquarters in March this year, we were pleased with the work being done amid the challenges they faced, one of which including aging equipment in the, the failure of DINEL will lead to the erosion of our sovereign capabilities. When we visited the Defense Intelligence Headquarters in March this year, we were pleased with the work being done and the challenges they faced, one of which including aging equipment in need of replacement. If DINEL is unable to provide the much needed equipment, it means procurement would be done from private companies, mainly foreign, which would then know the equipment and capabilities used by our forces. This will compromise our defense capability. Therefore, DINEL should and must be saved to ensure the territorial integrity of our republic. The budget cuts also impact on human resources for defense intelligence. Due to ceiling on compensation for employees, as said by National Treasury, defense intelligence is unable to have all its staff complement. Coupled with inadequate human resources is the challenge of vetting. Many of our soldiers are not vetted due to limited personnel in the vetting structure of defense intelligence. The recent years have seen the reduction in the recruitment of young people through the Military Skills Development System program. Chairperson, one of the greatest challenges faced by the defense intelligence is the location of its headquarters. The Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence is aware of this challenge and has resolved to intervene by engaging the relevant ministers to ensure the situation is resolved. We are pleased to note that defense intelligence will coordinate with other services to cure the defect found in the regulation of interception of communications and provision of communication-related Information Act RICA number 70 of 2002, as it pertains to the unlawfulness and invalidity of bulk interception as contained in the court judgment of Amabungani versus the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services. Despite the challenges and budgetary constraints, we are pleased to indicate the following achievements. Achievement number 1, Defense Intelligence has collaborated with other intelligence services and continues to monitor the situation in Mozambique's Cabo Delgado region. Achievement number 2, Defense Intelligence supported the South African Defence Force deployments in the Western Cape in an effort to suppress gang-related violence. 3, Defense Intelligence has successfully commended with its Bachelor of Military Science degree in January 2021 at the Faculty of Military Science, Stellenbosch University, located at South African Military Academy in Saldanha. This will equip our future intelligence officers with adequate skills and knowledge to safeguard our country and protect its people. 4, Defense Intelligence supported our efforts by deploying personnel as part of the South African defense during lockdown to curb the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. The last achievement, Defense Intelligence continues to deploy military attaches to various countries for defense diplomacy. Given additional resources, Chairperson, including adequate budget allocation, we believe that most of the challenges identified will be eradicated to ensure that South Africans are and feel safe. Although we wish for additional resources, we fully support the budget and wish more can be done for our security forces in general. The African National Congress fully supports the budget vote. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dikhale. Thank you very much. From the PAC, we don't have a person. Al-Jama, seem not to be having a person.
Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Or you, Honorable Khani.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I was a member of the Joint Intelligence Committee that approved the current budget for this department. As a Mawa, once again, support your next budget. I personally used your services, Deputy Minister, and I would like to commend your team servicing Stanger and Durban. I have not met more professional and dedicated public servants. They are extraordinary. I was doing oversight in the bush, and the operator spotted a spider and stripped me to remove the spider. That shows their vigilance, attention to detail. It cannot be that in Delft, 22 people, including children, were killed the past weekend. This budget must not allow this, and I want the Deputy Minister to say it will never happen again. Like you say, apartheid will never happen again, although some honorable members in this house cannot wait for the return of apartheid, and that is why they must support Zionism, which is inherently discriminatory, and we hope will be outlawed when the protection against discrimination becomes law. We heard that the DA wants to run South Africa, while every South African hating apartheid says, never, never again. Once again, the official opposition brings spouses of honorable members into our debates. It happened to me not long ago, soon after I made the statement that Israel is child killers and occupiers. My wife was positioned as the only woman in South Africa against polyandry. Now we hear the minister's spouse is a CIA operative. This must rank as the lowest level one can get in a debate and the biggest jokes of the year. The DA needs to edit the speeches of their members. The lack of personal safety in our homes, in our streets, in our schools, and in our shopping malls is a matter of national security. This means, Deputy Minister, you must zoom in at this grassroots level. Use the budget to sort this out. Otherwise, return our money. We want your department to have robots as part of your force with artificial intelligence so you can anticipate threats to personal safety. Don't expect us to approve your budget next year if we have not shown dramatic progress with personal safety. National security, I operate outside our borders. I want to know if we have enough money in this budget to save South Africa from a regime change because of our position on Palestine, Cuba, and Western Sahara. Do we have operators monitoring the 40 operational centers of in Africa, of America, and other countries planning a regime change in South Africa? Why do you think Mozambique don't want your help? It's because the conglomerates in America has captured Mozambique. Honorable House Chair, we would like to approve this budget. Al-Jama supports the budget and feel the country is in very, very good hands. Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Hendricks. The next speaker is the Honorable PM Hadebe.
Honorable Chairperson, on behalf of Honorable Hadebe, I will be reading his speech.
You're welcome, Honorable Member.
Thank you very much. Honorable Chairperson, the Crime Intelligence Division suspension, the committee hopes that all the plans will be implemented as presented to us. We have recently met with the leadership of Crime Intelligence led by the National Commissioner General Sitole, when they presented the strategic plan, annual performance plan and budget of Crime Intelligence in Pretoria. We are pleased that work continues. Some of the challenges currently faced by Crime Intelligence include the following: the inadequate budget, which is a huge hindrance in terms of optimal functioning of Crime Intelligence. That is the major challenge. The issue of budget makes it difficult to combat crime in the country without maintenance of Crime Intelligence capability, which includes the recruitment, infiltration, handling and support of informants, police agents, co-workers and contacts. The Auditor General of South Africa has made several findings with regard to performance and financial management, such as insufficient evidence not provided for achieved targets, irregular expenditure on sensitive projects, targets not specific and measurable as per the National Treasury regulations, lack of compliance with legislation, some deviations not approved by National Treasury, and supply chain management policies not aligned with the regulations. The committee is pleased that management is resolving some of these challenges and will report progress on a quarterly basis. The vetting backlog is also a challenge. It was previously reported that some of the senior managers did not have the required security clearances. We are pleased to report that the vetting capacity has increased and is monitored continually. With regard to border intelligence, Crime Intelligence was tasked to do an analysis on the impact of foreign nationals as either victims or perpetrators concerning crime. That work continues. Vacancies are also a challenge. We note with concern that there are vacancies in some operational positions due to human resources constraints coupled with budget cuts. Despite the challenges mentioned, we are pleased to indicate that Crime Intelligence has recorded achievements such as the following. Crime Intelligence has collaborated with other intelligence services in monitoring the situation in Mozambique, particularly as it pertains to links to some individuals located in our borders. Lifestyle audits for all SAPS members is currently underway. This has been a challenge in the past, and it will ensure that police officers who cannot explain their living above their means are investigated, and if found on the wrong side of the law, are dismissed from SAPS. Several interventions to fight crime have been made with regard to cash in transit, gangsterism, kidnappings, terrorism, on extortions, that is on construction sites, illegal land invasions, and the illegal smuggling of cigarettes, which increased dramatically during COVID-19 lockdown. I thank you, Honorable Chairperson. The committee supports the budget.
Thank you very much, Honorable Make. We will now request the Deputy Minister to finish what he has started. Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, once more, and thank you very much to the members for the comments they have made. We welcome the fact that the members have supported the budget, including those who have had very constructive comments to make about the work of the agency. And I think it's in line effectively with the theme of our budget speech, where we say, for an example, Chairperson, that national security is a responsibility of all of us. And I think even those who might have not sound like agreeing, but they do support the fact that you need a very vibrant, very active agency in the context of the national security, national structures. And I think we welcome that because, for an example, a member of NFP talks about a need to go back, whilst not supporting, but he says we must go back. But going back to overhaul, you'll still need a budget for that. And I think we welcome those kind of constructive comments in that context. Thank you very much to the chairperson of the committee, JJ Make, for the kind of comments in the introduction you made. But let us just respond to a few comments, chairperson, that have been made. The first one is that we are making a steady progress in implementing the recommendations of the high-level review panel report. And we indicated that in the report. Among others, for an example, we are strengthening the policy and compliance unit in the organization so that we deal with issues of accountability. And I can assure members that what probably would be a fear of what happened in the past, we are now strengthening the issues of oversight and accountability in the organization, including, among others, the good working relations the organization is now re-establishing with the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence, in spite of difficulties that members have alluded to. And I think we want to allow a situation where, for an example, the bad image of the past remains with this good organization, including a suggestion that the organization literally is only appointing people who are corrupt, is infiltrated, people who are responsible for sabotage, espionage, and so on. We must indicate, as we said before, to the JSCI in a number of times, that in the organization, there are many good men and women who make us South Africa to sleep, as South Africans to sleep. And if there are maybe one or two individuals, and I think time will come and show that how much we have demonstrated our ability and capability with those individuals, including the 5 cases that were reported to the committee.
Yala, Deputy Minister. The line is becoming bad.
His data has been looted.
And now,
Honorable Minister, we seem to have lost it.
They are very dysfunctional, these people of state security, chairperson.
Honorable Minister. I will give the Honorable Minister a chance again.
I'm back, Chairperson. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go ahead, Honorable Minister.
Yes, I was just saying the point I just made about 9 billion, that the Office of the Auditor General has confirmed that no such amount appears on the audited statement. It confirms that when allegations are made, it's important to hear the other side, because there could be an explanation for all allegations that were made. And I think as members of parliament who uphold the constitution, it's important to respect and always to remember that point. The Ministerial Implementation Task Team, among others, which oversees the implementation of the high-level review panel report, is dealing with the issue of the separation. That is why, among others, the process of which is before Parliament, the separation of SSA into a domestic and foreign branch, the progress in this regard is to an extent that a draft bill, Chairperson, that will legislate the separation, i.e. the General Intelligence Laws Amendment Bill, has been drafted. A business case has also been drafted, with the separation expected to be effected as early as next year, 2022. And I'm just highlighting this because a lot of this has been reported to the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence. I must indicate, though, that we are also worried about some of the allegations that continue to be made at the Zondo Commission. We're monitoring them, but we're putting in place structures to make sure that what is reported that happened a few years ago never happens again within the state agency. But I must assure the members, Chairperson, that members of the agency are working hard at work, men and women of credibility, because sometimes when we talk about few individuals, we do make reference as though that the entire members of the agency themselves are corrupt, themselves are involved in illegal operations, but they are men and women who keep us South Africa awake on a daily basis and keeps us assured. That is why we welcome the call that all members of parliament, including those of this house, that they must continue to play a very patriotic duty to make sure that they are active participants to make sure that our national security is secured. Thanks very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister. Members are reminded that the National Assembly hybrid plenary will take place at 14 hours. That concludes the debate, honorable members, and the business of this virtual mini plenary session. The mini plenary will now rise.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister.